Welcome to Ocean to Ocean Ministries. Again, this is Albert Bricker. Today we're going to be talking about space-time. And Einstein's theory of relativity is measuring space-time on a earthly standard measure outside of our universe. The theory would be inauthentic. The biblical creationist doesn't fare any better with the claims that the speed of light was faster at creation. Both views of time are based on Earth's atomic clock, which is, in reality, neither is a good or accurate form of measure. How can the universe time be measured by Earth's time when there are so many variables? The assessment of space-time at the speed of light is only an educated guess at best in conjunction with the measure of time here on Earth. To base your whole belief on time, whether you're an evolutionist or a creationist, is absolutely absurdity. Do I have a formula for measuring the time of the universe other than that which what we already have by our standard? I have yet to find a calculation that is not based on our limited knowledge. Several attempts to calculate any kind of formula only leads me back to years, days, hours, minutes, seconds. But I will not support any theory or belief that uses space-time based on light years. Those who try to use 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 8 as a standard and measure of time also make a false assumption. The context of that verse is that God can do things in one day which man would think would take thousands of years. So the phrase thousands of years is symbolic of long periods of time. And even though the evolutionists claim that extreme density of space and the mixture of temperature is the beginning of the universe, the pinpointed time of their estimation for the beginning is 13.8 million years ago. So if time begins at the Big Bang, then there can be no calculation for time outside of our universe. So the evolutionists must turn to endorsing multiple universes or other dimensions. And so the development of the Thrings theory is the new physics of the universe. Mikhail Kaka, the Universe in a Nutshell video, gives a very good presentation on, first of all, gravity, electromagnetic force, nuclear weak and nuclear strong. Excellent, the presentation. Then his explanation of Isaac Newton's 3 laws in motion is just outstanding. Objects in motion stay in motion unless there is an outside force. And second of all, force is mass times acceleration, F equals ma. And third, for every action there is an equal or opposite reaction. So the portion of the video he discusses electromagnetic force and the study of the 1800 Faraday law, electronic revolution, is really a magnificent presentation if you want to watch it. He also talks about James Clerk Maxwell's velocity of light and how light is an electromagnetic wave. Michio Kaka makes the argument for the string theory based on all of these other discoveries in the field of physics, and he tries to convince us that this will be the new breakthrough in physics. But already science has abandoned the rings theory for dark matter theory. So further examination, I found two other statements. Steve Hawkins realized that the theory of everything, the rings theory, is a fantasy. He admits that Kurt Gödel, a mathematician, has ruled out the theory of everything and multiple universes, in which he claims to be a mathematical failure. The equation is a failure in the sense that it cannot work in a three-dimension universe. The theory of everything or the rings theory, is a hypocritical framework that unites all physical aspects of the universe. The general relativity and quantum field theory, and we look at those, and with new information through technology, and science is always revising itself because it is always wrong and incomplete. So it always has to update itself with something else. So the theory of everything will continue to be played as long as there is big money pushing its agenda. And there are people who are gullible enough to support it. The second statement I found is that the mathematical equation would work if we lived in a 10-dimension universe, and that is why they need to prove more dimensions or more universes in physics to try to get this to work. The problem is, in the theory, would also be that there is no proof as to another universe. If there was proof, then science would have to establish its beginning in order to validate the theory of evolution. And so this could be the problem in the validity in validating other universes. But it hasn't stopped Bill Nye, the science guy, from supporting evolution from aliens in that theory. But whether it be from our own universe or another universe, aliens from another galaxy or universe is brought to the timetable, it could explain a lot of unanswered questions. However, there are a whole lot of assumptions and faith and imagination until there is actual proof. And as the theory of evolution from apes to man is losing in acceptance, this whole rings theory, and now it's the black hole theory, but the rings theory will keep the evolution of man from apes afloat for some time to come. But eventually the evolutionists will have to switch, and I'm looking for them to switch to the alien to man evolution. The Big Bang Theory is a result of creation from this explosion is still taught in our schools and colleges. The first atom was a mixture of hydrogen, helium, and lithium forming together. And I kind of have questions about that for the evolutionists. How do you know this was the first atom? And second of all, how do you know it was an atom that caused the Big Bang? My education tells me that this can't be reality because there's no witnesses to the evidence. I could make the claim that the Big Bang happened because it was caused by aliens from another universe. But since I can't prove it, that doesn't make it reality. Let me also make mention that I'm hearing some phrases that are nothing more than conditioning phrases, intelligent design, higher higher power, higher force, the force be with you. These are all terms to condition your mind to accept aliens. They are no references to God, the Creator, in case you thought they were, as I've heard many Christians use the phrase. But let's say it was an atom that caused the Big Bang. How do we know it came into contact with gravity? If gravity is caused by matter and there was nothing else there, that would eliminate the gravity. You see, actually gravity is caused by the mass of two objects. That means there had to be something in existence before the first atom was formed, because without two masses there would be no gravity, and that would equal no Big Bang. Because people don't study or are afraid to speak out of line, these things never get discussed, especially in a college setting or even in high school setting, because people don't know what to ask. They just go along with the program. If hydrogen is involved and it hasn't changed in a billion years, then the current 0.5 parts per million of hydrogen in our atmosphere is not enough to cause an explosion. The fact, however, stated by the physics world has already admitted these elements did not cause the Big Bang. But it's still taught until someone questions its validity. According to the theory, now it was nucleosynthesis. The protons and the neutrons combined to form the Big Bang. However, the universe has insufficient amount of lithium 6 and 7 to make this capable. So in order to explain this lack of lithium, they make the claim that in the early stages of the Big Bang, the universe became super hot and burned up about 10 seconds after the leptons and the anti-leptons period. That's what they call it, burned it all up. So the photons was the energy of the universe, and it annihilated what existed. And that you can read more about that in the Photon Epic. But there are still three problems that face the evolutionists and the scientists when they expound on this theory. First of all, they cannot explain the origin of electrons and photons. Somewhere there would still need to be a designer of such elements, which we could go and say aliens or God. How do they know this is what happened? Number three, there is no eyewitness to confirm any of this evidence for their theory. This is why it's called a theory. Theory is a supposition or a system of ideals intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles independent of things to be explained, says the Lexico Oxford Dictionary. Excuse me. I would have to agree that the theory of alien evolution makes a better argument for this case, but then again we get right back to the point of where did aliens originate? Have you noticed since the 1960s and even now from the 1980s to the present of the indoctrination of aliens into movies and video games and alternative universes and other dimensions in video games and movies? Notice how they have upped their game in the last 20 years. It's because they know with modern day technology, the current ape to man theory in evolution is dying. The only thing keeping it alive right now is big money from private donors and government funding for schools and colleges. This is why we need a criteria for truth that we can examine ideals outside the box. Here is a final thought about neutrons and photons coming together. The evolutionist still has a problem. In order for the Big Bang to have occurred, it would need to be within the confines of time, space, matter, and energy. Those things would need to exist before, in order for the Big Bang to occur. But the evolutionist has to teach they occurred afterwards, or it wipes out their theory. This is a problem for the biblical creationists also, who has established the origin of God, which cannot be realized without utter evidence. If God is true, then he must be outside the confines of time, space, and matter, but not energy, because God would be the energy. So in order to prove the existence of God, we have to first establish, can God exist since we can't see him? And here we have an equal playing field with the evolutionists. Can something exist without us seeing it physically? The answer is yes, it can, and we can prove it by results. The effect that we see from energy and electricity and gravity, which are unseen, tells us that we can know something is there without seeing it. Those are good standard answers, and they fit to explain all three forms of creation through evolution, science, and creation. But I think there is a better argument for the evidence from the universe that proves that we can know for sure something is real, even though we can't see it, and it's based on science. The Hubble Space Telescope was launched into orbit April 24th, 1990, and it has provided us with some outstanding photos of our universe, and we are able to observe other galaxies and stars in our universe. And it has allowed us to look beyond our own galaxy. It is by this and the measurements of our universe that we can prove with science that something can exist without us seeing it. Science tells us that the universe is expanding away from the earth. And my question is, where is it expanding to? If we can't see that area outside our universe, then expansion cannot be happening. But we know that expansion is happening, which proves that something, an unknown area, can exist without us seeing it. So the origin of the living finds an unanswered question answered in the theory of evolution, science, and biblical creation. Something can exist without us seeing it. Since we have looked at evolution and biblical creation, we also should look at science also to explain the origin of our universe.